Hi everyone and welcome to today's video where I will be talking about willpower and why you should not rely on it if you want to succeed in life. I'll be breaking the video up into 3 parts and I'll start off by explaining what willpower is, why you should not rely on it, and finally I'll give you some alternative methods that will reduce your reliance on willpower and still allow you to attain your goals. To begin with, let's first define what willpower is. Will is the ability to make a conscious choice. Animals have a degree of free will, while flowers do not have any. We as humans have more will simply because we are better at thinking, and this allows us to make more informed choices. When something can be done at will, it means to act accordingly at a time of choosing without hindrance. Willpower then is the motivation to exercise that will. Getting what you want takes willpower, as you are usually required to do difficult things on a pretty consistent basis. Now that we know what it is, let's look at why we shouldn't rely on it. When we tie our success to our willpower without understanding what that really means, we set ourselves up for failure. The first problem with willpower is that it comes and goes as it pleases and is not something you can conjure up on demand. There will be days where you will have no problems completing your tasks or workouts, and then on other days, the same tasks will seem impossible to complete. One of the reasons this happens is because the more we use our willpower, the more we deplete it. We should think of willpower as a power bar on a cell phone. Every day you start off with a full charge, and as you go through the day, it starts to decrease. This is why people tend to make worse decisions in the evening and at night time, especially when it comes to choosing things like what to eat. This was illustrated during a research study by University Professor Barbashev, who divided 165 undergraduate students into 2 groups and asked one group to memorize a 2-digit number and the other group a 7-digit number. When they were ready, students would then go to another room where they would recall the number. Along the way, they were offered a snack for participating in the study. The 2 choices were chocolate cake or a bowl of fruit salad, guilty pleasure or a healthy treat. What they found was that the students asked to memorize a 7-digit number were twice as likely to pick the cake. This tiny extra cognitive load was just enough to prevent a prudent choice. The implications of this are huge and show that the more we use our mind, the quicker we deplete our willpower. The second problem is that when our willpower decreases, we fall back onto our default settings. This was illustrated during a study of the Israeli parole system, where researchers looked at the impact of willpower. The researchers analysed 1,112 parole board hearings assigned to 8 judges over a 10-month period. The judges made decisions on 14 to 35 parole hearings per day and only got 2 breaks, a morning snack and a late lunch. What researchers found was that after each break, the parolee's chances of being released peaked at 65% and then plunged to near 0 at the end of the session. As the judges mentally collapsed during this repetitive process, they collapsed into their default setting, which didn't turn out well for the prisoners. This begs the question, what are your default settings? If your willpower is dragging, will you grab a salad or a bag of chips? Will you be focusing on work or pay attention to any distraction that drops in? With this in mind, the best way to overcome the problem with willpower is to not rely on it. Here are 3 alternative methods that you can use instead. The first is to create better habits. Habits require effort at the start, but over time they become automatic, so will use up less and less willpower, leaving you with the ability to exert that willpower in other areas. When you create a new habit, a new network between certain neurons is formed in the brain. As you carry out this activity regularly, the relationship between the neurons increases and strengthens. This means that the behavior will become more automatic over time and require less concentration, meaning that you will feel no resistance to the activity and therefore not have to use willpower. The second way is to get the most difficult things out of the way first thing in the morning. As I previously mentioned, willpower is like a power bar on a cell phone, and it drains during the day. It is at its highest in the morning, so this is when you should aim to get your hardest activities out of the way, as you will be less likely to complete them later on. The third way to reduce your reliability and use of willpower is to shape your environment in a way that allows you to focus on what needs to be done and not waste willpower on avoiding distractions. This means making the things you don't want to do more difficult and the things you do want to do more accessible. An example of this is, instead of leaving your phone in front of you while focusing on learning or work, place it in another room. This way, if you get a notification, you don't have to use up any willpower to avoid looking at the phone. It's the same if you're trying to lose weight. If you fill your house with junk and food that you are tempted by, you'll spend energy and resources trying to avoid eating that food. The best thing to do is just not to buy it in the first place. I hope that this video allows you to reflect on what your relationship is with willpower and how it impacts your life and productivity. Hope that you enjoyed the content. Thanks for watching and see you next time.